road trip. We're going to drive 200 miles over to the Indianapolis International Motor Speedway for their vintage races this weekend. Now, we've been wanting to do this for several years now, and we've been watching the weather because the weather's been kind of iffy about what was going to happen over there, to find out or decide if we were actually going to go and what we were going to take. The weather's going to look like it's going to be just good enough. We're going to go ahead and take the MG here with us. So by the time we made it to the track, those spotty showers that were supposed to have moved out by about 1 o'clock had actually moved in about 1 o'clock and was a bit more than just spotty showers. There were some lightning strikes and they closed racing down for the day, and actually started raining really hard right after that. But we had a lot of difficulty getting into the track initially, just because the way we bought our tickets, to just try to get our tickets so we could come in the next day. But by the time we finally got all that sorted out and got our wristbands so we could come in on Sunday, I was pretty fed up. It was starting to rain pretty hard, and we just went to go find the hotel. So now we'll pick up the action on Sunday here. Here we are in the legendary Gasoline Alley. Down at the far end down there is what they call the Ragtime Racers, which is the really, really early Indy cars. They're getting those ready to go out on track here soon. So we'll go take a look at those a little later. There's all the Ragtime Racers, which are pretty much like, I think, pre-1920. So the really early stuff. My personal favorite for Indy stuff is the earlier stuff up through 50s maybe. The Wilbur Shaw era is probably my favorite Indy stuff. These were really cool because you had to be really hairy-chested to go out here and race these things. Very dangerous. No front brakes. They only have rear brakes on them. Friction shocks absorbers. They leak oil like crazy. They had no fuel pump on them. So you had a mechanic that rode with you, and then the driver, the mechanic, would actually pump on this, which is actually pressurizing the fuel in the fuel tank, because there's no fuel pump on the engine. And then they watch a gauge up here and keep the gauge up to a certain pressure. So, very early motor racing history here. Imagine running around the Brickyard back when it was bricks still. I think they were getting near, I think it ran like 80, 90 mile an hour back then, something like that. But try running 80 mile an hour or even 70 or something like that. These old chassis even had wood down the inside of the rails here. And of course these were really low compression early days where exposed valve springs, you had to oil those things externally. And this thing's 460 cubic inch 4-cylinder.
There we go. They dropped the hammer. Scott Hawley in that Miller Lite Penske Dodge takes the jump. It's that Python. It's Wolsifer in the Camaro. And Najem in the Ferrari. Followed by Glenn Andrew in that orange Grand Prix. Trying to get away here. It's about 2 seconds quicker than the cars behind. We'll see if he can maintain that advantage now. The lead in the stoppers is Scott Hawley, Kevin O'Connell right with him. Only half a second separating those two. In the Dodge versus Mustang battle. Stephen Kennelly in the blue Dodge Charger in third spot. Terry Mathis in the red Carlos Dan in the Coors Thunderbird. Mark Carlin, number 14. Crawford Hooker. Steve Beck in the Calvary, number 6. And Dominic Ether in the 07. Mark Carlin. Looks like Greg Sarf did not take advantage over Jeffrey Bernatovich. Good battle between the Ferrari, however, of cars. As Kevin O'Connell takes over the top spot and sets fast lap of the race. It's quicker than the GT cars. A 1:33.646 for O'Connell in that number 59 Mustang. Scott Hawley back to second, and they got almost 3 seconds over Stephen Kennelly in the 43 Dodge Charger. Just to be as he moved up into that third spot in class. We have a nice little battle for 13th and 14th overall. Back in the Valvoline from the Bernie from Jack Daniels. Monte Carlo.
just heard that the Indianapolis Vintage Race Weekend brings a whole lot more cars in anymore than the one at Mid-Ohio. We may have just picked a bad weekend with the weather we've had, because car counts obviously seem to be pretty far down this year. And a lot of cars left yesterday after the rain, from what I'm told. But hey, any race weekend is still a good weekend.